Hey guys, this is C plus Hacker, and today I'm going to show you how to dual boot your PC into Ubuntu. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is actually download a copy of Ubuntu. So if you go to ubuntu.com, then you can go to the download page here, and we'll want to go to Ubuntu Desktop. You'll notice that there are two versions of the desktop immediately available. There's 20.04.3 LTS and 21.10. What's the difference? LTS stands for long-term support, so these versions come out every 1 to 2 years, I'm not sure, but they're basically supported for about 5 years with security and maintenance updates. And then these ones that are that come out later in the year, typically these ones with a 10, these ones have more features, they're more of the latest updates, but they're only supported for about 9 months. So it's up to you to decide which one you can get. Of course, both are free, but I'm going to get 2110 because I am interested in those more recent updates. The process of setting this up should be almost exactly the same though. So go ahead and click download. Now I've already downloaded this. It's a little bit big, about 2-ish gigabytes. Okay, so I'm actually not going to download it again. But once you have it, let's see, it should look like this. It should look like a little disk or something, and it should be a .iso file. Okay, that's what we want. Now you're going to need a flash drive or a disk or something that you can put the ISO file on and essentially burn it to so that you can boot your computer up from that. You're going to want to choose a flash drive or some sort of storage that you can clear completely because it's going to completely format the drive and erase everything on it. Now don't worry, after you do this, then you can reformat your hard drive and use it for whatever you want after that. So it's not a permanent thing by any means, but for this purpose, for doing this, it is going to erase anything that's on it. So you want to make sure you back it up first. I've got this flash drive right here. It's 16 gigabytes, but you can probably get away with something that's about 4 gigabytes. Really, any sort of drive will work. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. Now, okay, here it is. So I'll show you how to quickly format it just normally, although we're going to use a program in a minute that will also format it. So in order to format the flash drive, go ahead and find it in this PC, and then right-click it and click Format. And then you can leave all the settings the same. If you want to, you can change the label to be something like Ubuntu. Then click Start, and it will warn you that you're about to erase everything on the disk and say OK. Okay, so that is done. So now we need to go and get a program called Rufus. Okay, I will include the link in the description for this as well as the Ubuntu download. Rufus is essentially a program that actually, it looks similar to that dialog box that just popped up, but it's essentially going to burn this file to your flash drive and make it usable to boot up from. And if you haven't heard the term burn before, don't worry, it's not bad. It just means it'll make it a format that is readable by the computer for our purposes. Okay, so again, a free program. Go ahead and download the latest version. So I'm going to open that up. Okay. And it looks like it didn't really need to install. It was just, you just open it once sort of thing, which is nice. So automatically it already has our drive selected, the Ubuntu drive that I renamed my flash drive to. Make sure you choose the specific flash drive or hard drive or DVD, whatever, that you want to burn the file onto. That's very important right here. Okay, then go ahead and click select right here to choose the file that we're going to burn to it. And that is the ISO file, okay? and you can leave this menu the same. Okay, so you can leave everything the same. Down here, again, it's going to tell you what you want to rename it to. I'm just going to leave it the same so that I know what I downloaded, or what's on the flash drive. And you can basically leave all the settings the same and click Start. Okay, and then it's going to pop up with this box, and you want to write in ISO image mode. Okay, and then it says, let's see, this image uses grub, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so essentially it's looking for some certain files it needs, and if it just hit yes, and it will download the stuff it doesn't have. Again, it will say all the data will be destroyed on the drive, and that's okay. Okay. And then this will take just a minute. Okay. Looks like it opened up the drive, and it's about 0.2% done. Okay, so that has finished. That process, I paused it there because that takes actually quite a bit of time to load. However, once it says ready right here, then we are ready to go. And if you open up the drive, you'll see that it's got all of these different files and folders and things. So now I'm going to switch over to a different camera so that you can see my computer booting up and stuff like that. But before you reboot your computer, you'll want to make sure that you know how to get into the boot menu. So on most computers, you'll typically press something like F10 or F2 or something like that to launch the BIOS menu or the boot menu. So just give that a quick Google. It's different for each computer, but we need to get into the boot menu so that we can boot off of the flash drive. Now, if your computer does not support, or if your boot menu is locked up for some reason, you'll need to go into the BIOS and change that, potentially with the administrator password if you've set one before. But for most people, for most computers, it should work just fine if you find that function key. And what you'll want to do is basically press it over and over until something pops up when you boot your computer. And I'll show you what I mean. All right, so I'm going to reboot my computer now. And when it restarts, I'm going to try a couple different keys, function keys, to get into the boot menu. Okay, so you're just going to want to press that key over and over that I had you Google. For me, I'm going to try F10. Okay. So what happened is I pressed F10 and it popped up with a thing that said press F12 for boot options. So I pressed F12 and here we are. Okay, so this interface will vary widely depending on what computer you have. For a lot of computers I've seen, it will display just kind of a black screen with a couple options and you use the arrow keys to navigate. This one's a little bit fancier. But over here on the side, you can see we've got our boot options. And this one, this is my flash drive. So you're going to want to identify that. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Okay, so this popped up and it's a little bit hard to see, but it says Ubuntu and there's a couple different options. Press enter on the first one. Okay, so now the computer is sort of booting up into Ubuntu. You can see the Ubuntu logo and its own little loading symbol. All right, so that loading took just a couple minutes to boot up. All right, you probably heard that little chime, and so we are now in Ubuntu, but we're not done yet. We've got to install it. So here you can click try if you just want to run it off of the flash drive and see what it's like. I'm going to go ahead and click install Ubuntu. So it's going to have you go through a variety of things such as keyboard layout, Wi-Fi networks, etc. So I'm going to go through this setup process and I'll just speed it up a little bit. Okay, when you get to this page, it's going to ask if you want a normal installation, minimal installation. It's going to go through all these things. So what you want to do, we're going to choose a normal installation and we're going to have it download updates while installing. That way it makes it easy to, I mean, you don't have to do a lot of updates after you've already installed it. At this point, you should also make sure that your computer is plugged in. Okay, that's very important. I should have mentioned that earlier, but it is important. Okay, so then it's going to ask if you want to install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware and additional media formats. I'm going to say yes because, I mean, that just makes it easier. You don't have to download more stuff later. I'm not going to enable configure secure boot. Let's see. Oh, just kidding. Installing third-party drivers requires configuring secure boot. That's interesting. So I'm just going to not do that for now. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. All right, this is the most important screen. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here so you can see better. It's going to ask installation type. So it says this computer currently has Windows Boot Manager on it. I'm assuming you're using Windows when you start this process. If you have Linux, it might be a little different. But it's going to say that you've already got the Windows Boot Manager. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to install Ubuntu alongside that. That way we can boot up in Windows or Ubuntu when we start the computer. If you'd rather just install Ubuntu completely, go ahead and click Erase Disk and install Ubuntu, or you can modify partitions yourself. But I think it's easiest to say install Ubuntu alongside Windows Boot Manager. So, I mean, this is important. Documents, music, and other personal files will be kept. You can choose which operating system you want each time the computer starts up. So you're not going to lose your files from Windows. But if you are concerned about it, then it's not a bad idea to do a backup of your computer. Okay? Go ahead and click continue. Okay, this is kind of cool. It's a little interactive. So it says allocate drive space by dragging the slider, by dragging the divider below. Okay, so right here it's telling me that 242.9 gigabytes of space are being taken up by Windows. If I choose to, you know, give Ubuntu as much space as it's taking. But what you'll want to do is right here, you can drag to choose how much space you want to take up. Now, for me, I can take up to 28.8 gigabytes. The reason I can't take more is because my hard drive is mostly full. But if yours is mostly empty, you'll probably be able to drag this further. Okay, for me, I'm gonna say I want about 15 gigabytes. So I'll go with 15.1. That's gonna leave me about 240 gigabytes on Windows. And if you've never done this before, then you should know that when you're in Ubuntu, you will not be able to access the files on Windows unless you do some interesting hackery things, which you could. potentially, but when you're on Windows, you're not going to be able to access what's on Ubuntu either. Okay, so I just thought I should warn you of that. Now you're going to click continue. Now, if at this point you've gotten stuck somewhere where your computer is talking about the need to turn off, I believe it's Windows BitLocker, then comment down below if that's something you're experiencing so I can make a video on that. But essentially, you will need to decrypt your hard drive, which is not as scary as it sounds, in Windows before doing this process. I've already done that, and so it's not asking me about it. But the reason you'll need to decrypt. All right, once you've gone through the rest of the setup process and everything has loaded, then boot up your computer or restart it and press F2 to get into the BIOS. Now this may differ depending on what computer you use specifically, but yes, so you'll want to go into the BIOS. Now at this point, remove the flash drive from the computer. We don't need it anymore, and you'll want to remove it so no problems are created. Now in the BIOS, go to boot options, and excuse me, you'll see that we have a couple options here. Again, this will look different depending on your individual computer. So what we need to do is set up your computer so that Ubuntu boots first, or Windows, whichever you prefer. So what's going to happen is if you've got the Windows Boot Manager first, and you turn on your computer, it will always boot into Windows, okay? Unless you specifically open the boot options and choose to boot into Ubuntu. To make that easier, it could be a good idea for you to put Ubuntu first. What that will do is Ubuntu has their own menu that will let you choose between Ubuntu and Windows when you boot up. That way, it's a lot easier to make the choice instead of having to, I don't know, do a lot of extra work. So with your mouse or keyboard or however it works on your BIOS, make sure that Ubuntu is first, apply the changes, press OK, and exit. Okay, so now my computer is going to boot up, and it's going to boot into Ubuntu, and I'll show you what I was just talking about. So this is something we call Grub. It's essentially a little program that's going to let us choose between the different options. It's a little tricky to see. Oh, perhaps it's happening again. I'm not sure what just happened, but okay. It looks like it decided to boot into Ubuntu. There was probably just a timer, but the options were Ubuntu or Windows Boot Manager. If you click Windows Boot Manager, it will boot into Ubuntu. Okay, so now I can log in here. Maybe. Okay, and there you have it. You have just dual booted into Ubuntu. Now, that is not the finish of this series. I'm going to make a series on all sorts of Ubuntu and Linux type videos, so please let me know what kinds of things you're interested in seeing. I'm going to make future videos on how to set this all up to have the best setup on your computer, and later on we will explore everything that you can do with Ubuntu. So if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. It will help YouTube recognize this video and share it with more people. And I'll see you guys in the next one.